The Dolphins didn't just beat Buffalo. They shook something loose. You could almost feel it under the noise, that strange quiet hum that follows a win that doesn't really feel like one. A victory on the scoreboard, yes, but beneath it tremors. The kind that move through the foundation, the kind that say something's breaking, shifting, making room for what's next. Maybe no one wanted to say it aloud, but everyone felt it. Chris Grier's departure wasn't just a headline. It was a message carved right into the organization's bones. After years of balancing between ambition and hesitation, the Dolphins finally did something that screamed enough. And then more heads rolled. Executives gone. The front office, the same one that built the roster and shaped the identity of this team for so long, being peeled apart, piece by piece. And maybe that's what had to happen. Because how else do you wake up a franchise that's been half asleep for decades, dreaming of glory that never quite shows up? The truth is, no one expected this level of disruption, not after a win like that. But Miami's been stuck in this strange loop, a cycle of hope that builds and fades again. There's always been this invisible ceiling hovering over them, the one that keeps every surge of progress from turning into something lasting. You can change players, tweak plays, shuffle lineups, but until you tear at the roots, nothing really changes. So now the roots are being exposed. Chris Grier gone. Adam Ingroff and Anthony Hunt, too. Those names may not mean much to the fans who only see what happens on Sundays, but inside the building, that's seismic. These were people who helped shape draft boards, who scouted futures, who carried the organization's DNA through every quiet offseason. Gone just like that. And yet, it still feels like there's one name hovering over everything, Mike McDaniel. The head coach who brought energy, quirkiness, creativity. The one who turned Tua's arm into a lightning strike and made Tyreek Hill feel like a weapon from the future. The one who made football feel fun again in Miami. But for every burst of brilliance, there's been that lingering frustration, the late collapses, the missed moments, the sense that something always keeps this team from crossing the line into greatness. You can feel the divide. Fans arguing, voices clashing, emotion boiling. Some want McDaniel gone, convinced he's part of the problem. Others cling to him like he's the last piece of something special, the one spark worth saving. And above it all, Stephen Ross watches. The owner who's been too loyal, too patient, too forgiving. Ross loves McDaniel. That's no secret. And loyalty can be beautiful until it becomes a trap. Until it keeps you holding on to what's comfortable instead of chasing what's necessary. If 2025 ends like the years before it, how long can that belief last? There's talk of a full rebuild, whispers of it echoing through every report, every rumor. But what does a rebuild even mean for a team that's been rebuilding for half its lifetime? It's not about starting over. It's about finally starting right. About control, direction, accountability. The next general manager, whoever that turns out to be, will inherit a roster loaded with potential and haunted by history. They'll need to do what Grier couldn't. Break free from the ghosts of old decisions. Draft smarter, not louder. Build depth, not just headlines. Create a locker room that doesn't crumble when December hits. Because that's been the curse, hasn't it? Miami can start hot, light up the league for a few weeks, make you believe again. But when the season tightens and the lights sharpen, everything frays. Injuries hit, momentum dies, confidence fades. You start to wonder if the team believes in itself as much as the fans wish it did. Maybe that's why this reset feels different. It's not polite. It's not clean. It's uncomfortable. It's the kind of change that doesn't come with a smile or a press release full of optimism. It's messy. It's overdue. There's no pretending anymore. No illusion that a few tweaks will fix decades of mediocrity. The Dolphins haven't won a playoff game in more than 25 years. A whole generation has grown up without seeing this franchise matter when it counts. That's not bad luck. That's structure. That's culture. And that's exactly what's being ripped apart right now. And still, there's this strange excitement in the chaos. The sense that something might finally break the right way. Because as much as it hurts to watch familiar names go, what's worse is watching nothing change. The Dolphins are finally choosing the harder road. The one that leads somewhere new. Even if no one knows exactly where that is yet. Maybe this is the moment they stop trying to patch up the past and start carving out a future that actually fits. Stephen Ross has always been the loyal owner, the believer, but even he must feel it, the fatigue, the repetition, the wins that don't mean enough, the losses that sting too long. There comes a point where even loyalty bends toward necessity. And yet, you can't help but wonder, what happens if McDaniel stays? What if this reset stops halfway again, like it so often has? Can a rebuild even work when the foundation is only partly rebuilt? It's the kind of question that lingers in every fan's mind, especially those who've lived through the endless promises of next year. Because next year never comes, does it? It just becomes another year where potential outweighs performance, where talent gets overshadowed by inconsistency. Maybe Ross sees that. Maybe he's ready to risk more than he ever has before. The Dolphins need a general manager who sees the bigger picture, who understands that building isn't about chasing stars, it's about shaping identity. Miami's always had speed, flash, moments of brilliance. But what they've lacked is grit, the kind that survives when the schedule turns brutal, when injuries pile up, when the weather gets cold and the stakes rise. And that starts upstairs. The front office has to breathe the same air as the locker room. They have to share the same urgency, the same obsession. The days of executives protecting their corner of influence, of holding on to power just because they can, have to end. That's what this cleansing feels like. Not random, not panicked, intentional, painful but intentional. The Dolphins have been chasing stability for years, but maybe stability isn't what they need. Maybe they need volatility, just long enough to burn away the things that don't belong anymore. No one knows what comes next. A new general manager, new scouts, new philosophies. Maybe even a new coach if the winds keep turning. But something about this moment feels final, like the end of an era that dragged on too long. The team that beat Buffalo isn't the same team that will walk into 2026. You can already sense it. The players feel it, the fans feel it. Even the walls inside Hard Rock Stadium probably feel it. Change has a sound, it hums, it stings, it lingers in the air. And somewhere inside that uncertainty, there's hope. Not the kind that fades by mid-season, but the kind that builds quietly, waiting for something real. Miami's done pretending, done smiling through mediocrity, done making peace with almost. This reset isn't about revenge or optics. It's about truth, about looking at a franchise that's been lost in its own reflection and finally saying enough. Maybe that's the first real win of the season, because it's easy to celebrate touchdowns. It's harder to confront everything that's broken behind them. And maybe that's where the Dolphins are right now, in the middle of that hard, necessary truth. They've torn down parts of their own house. They're standing in the dust, staring at the empty spaces, deciding what to build next. No one's clapping yet, but maybe they shouldn't be. Maybe this part isn't supposed to feel good. Maybe it's just supposed to feel real. And for once, that might be exactly what Miami needs.